Hello, welcome back to Plumbing College. Today I'm going to teach you about terminal fittings, in which I mean taps, different types and how to repair. Right, so there's pillar taps on a pillar.
Half-inch tails used on basins and sinks.
Bath ones come with 3/4 tails. Higher neck pillar taps will be used on kitchen sinks to give you the AUK3 air gap. Whereas if it was used in a bath, the air gap's a bit smaller, it will be an AUK2 air gap, or on a basin to meet the water regulations in the UK. There's two types of mixer tap. There's bi-flow mixer taps, where hot comes in here, and the cold comes in here, and they mix on the outlet. So they mix here as they leave the fitting. So there's also something called a true mixer tap. So this is where the hot and cold mix in the body. So when the water leaves the tap, it's already mixed. So it mixes the hot and cold mix in the middle, so it's already mixed as it travels. Okay. The only issue with this is you'll need to have non-return valves installed because there's a risk of the hot water going back into the cold supply. Okay, don't be confused. They're not isolation valves because they haven't got the screwdriver bit in the middle. They're non-return valves. Right, so a non-return valve is basically it lets water that way, but if it tries to go that way, it's closed. So with mixer taps you get monoblock type, which means just one hole will be needed in your sink. Where this is the non-monoblock taps, you got two holes are needed in your sink.
When you draw taps, it's best just to draw an arrow and label what the tap is. So for example, this distribution pipe is showing a cold to a bath and basin.
Right, these taps all work in different ways and we're going to explain about them in today's lesson. So just to get you started, there's ceramic disc taps, there's rising spindle taps, non-rising spindle taps,
Non-concussive taps and bib taps.
The first tap we're going to look at today is a ceramic disc tap. And the way to know if we've got this tap is by it turns on and off quarter turn. So if your tap is like this, it's a ceramic disc tap. So let's have a look. When the tap's closed, the hole's blocked, no water can't get past here. But when you open it, the hole is unblocked and it allows water through. Right, so they come as cartridges, as you can see here, red. This means it's for the hot tap. Right, so let's see what's going on. So, open, close. So inside, there's two pieces of ceramic. So if your tap is faulty, you have to replace the whole cartridge. You can't repair the ceramics. The first thing you need to do is isolate the supply. So in this case, luckily, we've got an isolation valve here. So we turn it, so it's off, so it's on, off. We then check as the water's off. We then replace, making sure this red's a hot one, so we then make sure we replace the cartridge. So red gets a hot tap, make it the same.
turn sideways to adjust the temperature, and up and down to turn on and off.
This works on like the ceramics, okay? So if this tap broke, you would need to replace the actual cartridge. So in this case, I've sort of dissected it to show you. So let's have a little quick look. So you would need to like just, okay, so you can't repair the taps. So if the hot and cold started dripping, we need to get a new cartridge, which will look, in this case for this tap, will look a bit like this. They just work on like ceramic discs. So when you turn it, so hot and cold, and just sort of you just turn it to adjust the hot and cold, etc., etc. Right, the next tap we're going to have a look at is one called a non-concussive tap. So you just press the button, it lets water out, and it turns itself off. You just press it. So let me show you an example. Press the button. After about 20 seconds, they turn themselves off. This will be used in places like public toilets where people leave taps on. Right, so if this develops a fault, all we can really do is replace the cartridge. So let me sort of show you. This particular tap, you have to replace everything, the whole lot for this. So we're going to replace it with a new one, and the procedure is reversed. Right, so the next taps we're going to look at are the old-fashioned sort, which have got a washer inside. So what this consists of is when you open the tap, water goes through around. When you close the tap, all that happens is the washer just squashes on and blocks off the hole to stop the water going through. Right, so you'll come across two types of taps with washers in at the bottom which block off the hole. Right, so there's the British Standard 1010, which is the rising spindle. So what that means is when you open the tap, can you see that this spindle is rising upwards with it? See, it's rising upwards. It's rising upwards. Then there's the non-rising spindle tap, which is this one here. So let me show you. That spindle. When you it stays at the same height, it doesn't move. So eventually, when the tap washer's going up and down all day, not blocking the hole, not blocking the hole, that washer's going to wear out, and it's going to eventually, when it's closed, that's going to eventually let water through. So the sign would be a dripping tap, so we need to replace this washer. Okay, so let's have a look at a scenario. So the tap's turned off, but it's still dripping, so wasted water. So with these taps, okay, the most likely cause will be the washer. So let's have a look at changing the washer. Right, so what we're going to do, we can here, so we can either turn it off here, an isolation valve here to turn it off. To have a look. Okay, and if for some reason the isolation valve is faulty or still dripping, which it is here.
We trace the pipework round and we see that the bath is fed from a cistern, so we isolate it at this valve. Unscrew it. See, the washer looks a bit worn out. So the bit where the washer sits on, that's called a jumper. Okay. If you're changing tap washers a lot, you can normally buy sets with different size washers in, like this. Right, as we find a washer, a new washer, which is the same size as the old one, and then just like before, we push it onto the jumper and then put the screw on. Okay, and then right, we then switch the water back on here. Yeah, do know, if you're watching this from abroad, us English like separate hot and cold taps. Okay, we do like mixer taps as well when they mix, but we do like having separate hot and cold taps as well, quite an English thing. So, okay, so let's look at another scenario. Okay, so you've changed the tap washer, but the tap is still dripping. What can that be? It can only really be one thing now. Okay, so the washer's changed. So all it can be is called a seating, the tap seating. So if we sort of unscrew this, so where the washer sits, right here, so the washer sits on the seat. They call that the seat there. It could be the seat. If the seating is damaged, with the washer will not be able to block the hole off completely and water will seep through. You basically just need to give it a file, but obviously a file doesn't fit into a tap. So we have a special tool called a tap reseating tool. That's what you would do. You would screw this to the tap and what you're doing, if you can hear it, so you do this till the seat is nice and smooth. So it may involve doing it, taking it out to have a look, putting it back in. Let's have a quick look for real now. So if you look inside, you can sort of see that the seat does look a little bit, it's been chipped and worn out, so we need to reseat it. So what we do is this.
if you listen carefully, if you hear it grinding the metal, so we're basically just grinding or making it smooth again, we're reseating. Okay, we then take it out.
The seat is now nice and smooth.
With rising spindle taps, there is a bit of an issue as well, and it's when the spindle rises up and down. So let me show you another example. All right, so with a rising spindle tap, okay, so when you sort of open it, and when you sort of close the tap, there's movement, so it's up and down here. It's going to start to, the gland is going to start to leak water through. So for example, I've just sort of removed this from it. This moves up and down all day long. This moves up and down. So eventually that gland is going to start to leak water through. For example, when we switch on this tap here, this rising spindle tap, you can see there's water dripping out the tap. Okay. So if this does happen, we need to just unscrew the nut. What we do is we then wrap PTFE round okay, and we then squash it down. That's what we then do, and we then drop the nut. Okay. And we then make sure it's not too tight. It's now stopped. Okay. If it was leaking more, you would then undo and put some more PTFE tape around it. Okay. So you just keep so if it was to still leak. Okay, but what you don't want to do want to do this nut up really, really tight. If you do it up too tight, it's really hard to undo and do up. So, okay, so it might take 3 or 4 goes with PTFE tape to repack the gland. Okay, so that's one issue with rising spindle taps. So non-rising spindle, a couple of issues. If the tap just keeps turning like this, what's probably happened is somebody's turned it off too hard. Let me show you what's probably gone wrong. Okay, then what's happened, it's dislodged. It's been turned off too hard. It's just dislodged. What you'd need to do is just screw it back in and tell the customer not to do it up too hard.
Another issue could be a broken clip on the tap.
which will can make the tap, which will cause the tap to work like intermittent, not work, be on, be off. So if it's working.
So put on a new clip to fix this.
Now you know how to repair taps, it's your turn to have a go.